Everyone, welcome back. We've been taking a look at some elements of film, developing your film language, and we've been using this handout that I want you to follow along with as we go through. And hopefully, as we'll start to notice, the more that we start to pay attention to these elements, the more we start to realize the hidden meanings that directors have embedded within their film. The more that we pay attention to the lighting, the more that we pay attention to the camera angles. All of these elements are meant to derive meaning, to explain parts of the narrative to us that goes so much deeper than simply just the dialogue. And in paying attention to these, it's helped us to understand that true masters have no real accidents, right? This is a thought out process for each shot and what goes into each shot. And so what makes a film a better film? A lot of people ask, what makes a film a better film, or how come some films have more awards than other films? It's because they're better using these techniques, or they're better able to understand the rules of how to create meaning within film, so that they can then push up to the boundaries and be able to expose different elements or display different elements in a more artful or artistic sort of way. Let's pick up where we left off. We left off last time taking a look at the lighting. And this time I want to pick up with taking a look at transitions. The most basic transition that you'll see most often in film is simply a cut. And a cut is just two shots that are joined together. If a director wants to get a little bit more fancy with that, he or she will choose a fade. A fade is when the screen gradually grows black. That would be a fade out. A fade in when it gradually comes in from black to the actual shot. A shot can fade in or out. Generally, the reason why directors use fades is in order to indicate a passage of time between one scene and the next scene. And so, for instance, if you're having one scene take place and then you fade out and the next one fades in, probably another day or another couple weeks or something has passed in between those particular scenes. And it's just a subtle way to do that. And generally, the longer the screen is black, the more passage of time has transpired. And so, just to give you an example of what a fade in and fade out look like, I don't think these are artful or artistic by any means. They're just something I found online just to demonstrate the technique. Right, fade in, and the fade out, fade back in, passage of time. And it's not necessarily this guy is all that great, but he's just displaying the technique, right? I want to show you this actually within a Hollywood film, and this one's coming from You've Got Mail, and how they use this particular technique in order to convey the passage of time, as Meg Ryan kind of looks back on the past.
Change is a good thing. But all they're really saying is that something you didn't want to happen at all has happened. My store is closing this week. I own a store. Did I ever tell you that? It's a lovely store. And in a week it will be something really depressing, like a baby Gap. Soon we'll just be a memory.
Think about the camera shots, right? This is the pan, right?
Think it's a
Panning
tribute
across.
to the city. The way it keeps changing on you, or the way you can never count on it, or something. I know, because that's the sort of thing I'm always saying, but the truth is, I'm heartbroken. I feel as if a part of me has died, and my mother has died all over again. And no one can ever make it right.
The fade here, this is more of a dissolve though, just kind of leading into dissolve. That's when one shot fades to black while another one fades in from black and the two images are momentarily juxtaposed. Similar ideas of passage of time as Meg Ryan looks to her past, to her youth when she was at the store with her mother, and kind of the sadness, the memories that go along with that. Let's take a look at another example. Coming from Elf.
Bye, guys.
Bye, buddy.
Bye, buddy. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, buddy.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. Thanks, Mr. Narwhal. Bye.
Another dissolve, passage of time, right? Dissolves and fades generally indicate a passage of time, right? As he's traveling to New York City from the North Pole, right? Dissolve, dissolve. Indicating his long trek to New York. Okay, let's stop here and let's take a look at. We won't get into the raccoon part. If I can stop it. Apparently I cannot. There we go. A wipe. A wipe is when one image moves onto the screen, replacing another image, like pushing the one particular shot is pushing the other shot off the screen. As a wipe, kind of like wiping your the car window, right? Kind of taking a wipe, taking a squeegee and just wiping it, right? That's kind of what a wipe does. The many wipes of Star Wars, right? Wipe, wipe, wipe. Generally, they don't use these as often anymore. These are more something associated with Westerns, but George Lucas wanted to capture that kind of traditional, old-time kind of, this is a space Western kind of feel to it. Taking a look at an iris. An iris is when the screen goes black except for a small circle that directs the spectator's eye. And so generally James Bond films start with an iris where he points the gun at the camera and shoots us. So that is an iris. They don't really see these a lot as well. Generally what they do is they make the viewers aware that what they're watching is a film, right? So it's kind of closing it like a camera lens would close to take a picture. And most of the time films want to kind of create this magical illusionary space as though we are in the film, and so a lot of times they don't try to break that fourth wall, so to speak, but occasionally they do, and that's kind of what an iris will do. An iris will just direct our attention. Cross-cutting is when you cut back and forth between two or more locations with action occurring at the same time. And so this is, again, just another transition way. We talked a little bit about this as a sequence. They're kind of similar. One's referring to how shots are kind of constructed, or at least how scenes are coming together. The other one is referring more specifically to transitions. But cutting back and forth between two or more locations with action occurring at the same time. Here we have, I believe we have Skyfall. Maybe. No. Oh, this is an example of an iris. Coming from La La Land. Direct the eye of the viewer to what she's writing.
What is that? There's a script? It's a play.
To focus on what's important to her and what she's going to then put all of her attention into. I think this one is... No. This one is cross-cutting Skyfall. cutting back and forth between two action occurring at two or more locations that happen at the same time. So here you have James Bond, who's fighting the villain on top of a train, and then you have, I think her name is Q, that's going to have a shot to try to take out the villain, and then you have action occurring across the world over in London with M, who's listening to the action. Notice how the camera keeps getting closer and closer as the attention, or as the tension starts to mount. Closer and closer to her face, entering into her intimate space, entering into M's intimate space, creating that tension for us. Notice the point of view shot, and it's actually kind of an iris as well, right? Directing our attention as though we're looking through the scope. We got a high angle shot from James Bond looking down, then a low angle one as he enters the water. And then complete silence. Notice the close up of the speaker. It's going to be a crane shot as it kind of goes up and in to M, entering into her space as she realizes she may have just killed James Bond, right? All right, taking a look at a match cut. A match cut is a cut between two separate scenes that are linked by a similar motif, and it's a way of connecting two ideas, right? Two types of concepts between one scene and another. Now, this motif, what a motif is, it could be an action, it could be an object, and so I wanted to show you that. This one's coming from The Last Crusade, where you have River Phoenix, who plays a young Indiana Jones, who goes off and finds this religious artifact, trying to save it from these I don't know, grave diggers, fortune hunters.
You lost today, kid. Does this mean you have to like it?
Gives him the Indiana Jones hat. Match cut to the same hat. Now he's older, right? A way of linking them. This is linking, he is searching for the same artifact that he was looking for as a child that they took away from him. Now he's trying to get the same thing. So it's a way of connecting his past to his present.
Small world, Dr. Jones. Too small for two of us. This is the second time I've had to reclaim my property from you. It belongs in a
Okay,
museum.
we'll leave off there, right? The idea of connecting those two particular scenes. Here's another one. Coming from North by Northwest. We've talked about North by Northwest before. This is where Cary Grant's in the middle of a cornfield and the plane is trying to hunt him down. This is at the very end. Here we have Eve, who is kind of hanging from Mount Rushmore. Only Hitchcock would put the end scene at Mount Rushmore, where someone's hanging from George Washington. She's kind of hanging from Mount Rushmore, and then Cary Grant's pulling her up, and there's going to be a match cut to the end where he's pulling her up again. I just wanted to make that connection.
I've got you. Up.
I can't make it.
Yes, you can. Come on.
Harder.
Come along, Mrs. Thornhill.
Match cut. The same action, right? Now it's not the object like the hat with Indiana Jones. That's now the action of them pulling her up into a train train. Sorry about that. I had to take care of my dog who was going wild because the postman came to the door. Anyway, the match cut, the idea of connecting him kind of saving her from Mount Rushmore to him now saving her in, I guess, marriage or something. They've gotten married, now they're going on their honeymoon. But they met on an Amtrak, and so now they're kind of returning to that kind of, that kind of romantic memory that they have in their past. All right, a match dissolve is similar to a match cut, except rather than being a cut, it's going to be a dissolve, right? So it's a dissolve between two separate scenes that are linked by a similar motif, such as an action or an object. And here you see The Wrong Man. This is another Hitchcock film. Manny has been mistaken as the wrong man, of someone that is a robber. He's now put on trial. His family's being kind of torn apart. And it's kind of this act of, last act of prayer that we have this dissolve here. Where it kind of fades out, but it doesn't go completely black, right? So the screen doesn't go completely black. It's a dissolve. And then you have this other image of this guy who is the actual criminal replacing, right, a match dissolve, as he's now going to be correctly identified as the actual criminal. And so Manny's case, the case against Manny, is going to be dropped, and the actual criminal is going to be convicted for the crime. And so the dissolve here is a way of just transferring that guilt or transferring the crime back to the right person. At the very beginning of the film, you see a similar dissolve where the crime is now transferred to Manny, and now Manny's transferring that crime back to the actual criminal. And so just a way of doing a match dissolve. Another good example of a couple match dissolves comes from Citizen Kane. We watched the opening of this where we have an extreme close-up on Charles Kane's mouth as he says Rosebud. Here we're going to see a couple match dissolves on the fences at Charles Kane's Xanadu. That's his mansion. That's the estate that's called Xanadu. So you're going to see all these fences, right? A match dissolved to a new fence. Another match dissolved to a new fence, right? But the connecting object here is obviously the fence, right? Match dissolve. Match dissolve. Now you're going to see the house where Charles Kane is kind of lying on his deathbed. And that match dissolve, that's going to stay the same. Match dissolve. Match dissolve. And it's just a way of kind of getting us closer and closer to his life to represent that we're going to try to get closer and closer to his life as we try to understand why he would say Rosebud as his last words. So the window keeps getting bigger and bigger as we get closer and closer to him. And the idea of the fences is these are kind of metaphoric to how he tries to distance himself from others. And so it's hard to get to know him. It's hard to understand what's going on. And so we're trying to peel back, like an onion, trying to peel back all these layers that he puts in his life in order to understand who he was, who he truly was, and why were these his last words, right? Why it was Rosebud. All right, taking a look at other elements. Shot, reverse shot. What we see with shot, reverse shot is we'll see a character and then we'll kind of see what the character kind of sees. But rather than a point of view shot where we literally see actually what the person's seeing, this is going to be more over the shoulder, more of an approximate. I wanted to show you an example of this. Generally, what you see with shot, reverse shot is, as you see here with Cary Grant and Eve, or is it Ava? I don't remember if it's Eve or Ava. Anyway, doesn't necessarily matter. Generally, shot, reverse shot is used in dialogue. So you'll see her, and she'll say all of her lines, and the camera's over Cary Grant's shoulder, and then he'll say all of his lines, and then the camera will be over her shoulder. Her name is Ava Marie Saint. Over her shoulder as it cuts back and forth between them. And then in editing, they'll kind of put them together. They'll kind of piece them together to what makes it look like they're actually having a conversation. And so this is where they meet. This is where Cary Grant and Ava Marie Saint meet in North by Northwest. This is why they chose to go on their honeymoon on an Amtrak. Shot, reverse shot, directly over the shoulder to show their dialogue.
Yes.
Recommend anything?
The brook trout. A little trouty, but quite good.
So, Brook Trout. Hey, well, I think.
Yes.
But generally what will happen as they're filming these, as we kind of go through, is they'll do all of Ava Marie Saint's lines, and Cary Grant will just be kind of sitting there kind of doing his dialogue, not really doing a whole lot of acting. And then they'll break, and then they'll like break for like 2 hours where they have to do reset the microphones, reset the lighting. Then they'll come back, and then he'll do all of his lines. And then they'll come back in editing and do a shot, reverse shot.
Because all these women frighten me.
Why?
I don't know. Somehow they seem to put me at a disadvantage.
Because you're not honest with them.
Exactly.
Like that business about the 7 parking tickets.
Anyway, if you haven't seen North by Northwest, I highly recommend it. Really good. Okay, 180-degree rule. It's similar to a shot, reverse shot. But what we see is generally there's going to be this imaginary line where the camera will not cross, right? So the 180-degree rule means that you can shoot from any angle over here in the green area, but you cannot shoot over here in the red, generally, right? And the reason for this is if you're doing shot, reverse shot, you're going to have the blue guy over here and the pink guy over here, and you can just kind of go back and forth. And it makes sense, right? So you can still see the blue guy for the camera 1, right? Blue guy on the left, pink guy on the right, right? Same with camera 2, right? Guy in blue on the left, guy in the pink on the right, right? Same with camera 3, still on the left, blue guy's on the left, pink guy's on the right. But if you move it over here, it's actually going to invert the image. And that's going to be confusing for the audience to keep track of. And the whole idea of a film is to make it smooth for the audience, to make it as though we're in there. And so it's kind of like, if you think about this as a stage and theater, we don't ever go on the stage and then look at the audience, right? That's not what we'll do. We just have to stay on this green side. And so that's what the 180-degree rule means. So generally trying to make it as
screen direction is one of those
fluid as possible.
Make or break a scene. In this video, I'm going to show you how the 180-degree rule can save you from an editing nightmare. Welcome to How to Become a Film Director.
We're going to kind of skip through this. I just found this on the internet, but it goes through the whole idea, the purpose, the rationale for the 180-degree rule.
We'll see the safe area is designated in gray. We shoot a master, then cut from B to C without a problem. Now, if we decide to add a camera angle D, we'll see that Hunter is now talking to the back of Laura's head. Not a good thing. So obviously, this is a really simple scene. It's 2 people at a table, and it's easy to keep the screen direction safe because they're not moving. But that's boring, and nobody wants to watch a boring movie. So let's introduce a new action line, and we'll see if we can keep our screen direction straight. As I enter the scene from behind the actors, the master shot is still the same, but the opportunity to create a new action line exists at the pivot point. The pivot point is when Hunter turned his head. The action line was across Laura and Hunter. It now is between Hunter and myself. Our eye line is now the new action line. That gives us the opportunity.
Okay, and he's just suggesting that the action line is the same idea of the 180-degree rule. I wanted to take a look. Sometimes in film they break this. I wanted to show in Two Towers where they actually break the 180-degree rule. That's kind of an interesting way of doing this.
Must have the precious. They stole it from us. Sneaky little hobbitses. Wicked.
Notice how we're going to the camera's going to swing back and forth. We're going to kind of see the elements that we normally wouldn't see. But the reason the camera is doing this is to make it seem as though he's having a conversation with himself. It's going to swing back and forth, and then it's just going to cut back and forth as though he's looking at himself and talking to himself. The 2 different sides of Frodo.
Not listening. You're a liar. And a thief. No. Murderer. Go away. Go away.
poor Frodo. All right, but sometimes they do break it. But did you notice how they subtly broke it? Right, at first they moved the camera, right, to give you the sense that you're seeing a different angle of Frodo, and then they cut back and forth in order to show you more of that shot, reverse shot, which is very similar to what we saw with Cary Grant and Ava Marie Saint in North by Northwest. Taking a look at the Kuleshov effect. The Kuleshov is a type of editing developed by Lev Kuleshov, hence the name, right? They just kind of took it from his last name, where viewers derive meaning from two sequential shots, right? So if you put two shots together, people are going to subconsciously derive meaning from those two subsequent shots. And here's an example. This is Hitchcock just explaining what he's going to call this, I think he's going to call it a montage, but it's really the Kuleshov effect.
What one might call pure cinematics, the assembly of film, and how it can be changed to create a different idea. Now we have a close-up. Let me show what he sees. Let's assume he saw a woman holding a baby in her arms. Now we cut back to his reaction to what he sees. And he smiles. Now what is he as a character? He's a kindly man. He's sympathetic. Now, let's take the middle piece of film away, the woman with the child, but leave his two pieces of film as they were. Now we'll put in a piece of film of a girl in a bikini. He looks, girl in a bikini, he smiles. What is he now? The dirty old man. He's no longer the benign gentleman who loves babies. That's the difference. That's what film can do for you.
So that's the idea of the Kuleshov effect, right? It's the same kind of footage that we see of the old man. Change that with what's being juxtaposed against it, and it completely changes the meaning of that particular shot. All right, an establishing shot is a shot that is very similar to a Kuleshov effect. It's a shot that introduces the location of the next scene. And so the next scene is going to take place inside a cafe. Generally, you're going to see the outside, the exterior of the cafe before you see the characters inside the cafe sitting at a booth or sitting on a couch or something of that nature. And what that will do, I mean, it gives you the sense that they're actually at that cafe rather than actually inside. Most likely they're inside a studio. Here's an establishing shot that we see from Rear Window. I'm going to kind of fast forward. They used to put all of the credits at the beginning of the film because they knew that people wouldn't stay to the end to see who did it. But now they just kind of put them at the end. But this is establishing shot, right? It's establishing the location, it's establishing the setting, it's establishing the tone of the particular film. As the camera tilts and looks through, seeing the lives of all these people. We've seen a couple of clips from Rear Window before where Scotty has a broken leg and he's looking out at his neighbor Thorwald. Establishing shot, and then we're going to kind of go inside. But this is giving us all the sense that we're in this inner city, right? An establishing shot. All right, a montage. A montage is a technique in film editing where a series of several shots are compressed into a limited amount of time to convey the passage of character time. And so this is a way of compressing the story, right? Where we have several shots that seem as though there's a lot of time happening within the character when film time, it's only just a few minutes. And so the best example of this would be from Rocky, right? A montage of him running through the streets of Philadelphia. This only takes a couple of minutes for us, the viewer, as he kind of runs through on the train tracks and runs through the streets, runs up to the library in Philadelphia. But we get the sense that that's all part of his training process. And so there's a lot of time passing in the meantime for the character as he prepares for his big fight with Apollo Creed. Okay. get the idea of a montage. Okay, slow motion. This is when there are more frames than the standard 24 frames per second, right? 24 frames per second is generally how we see the world, or at least how within films, things that look normal to us. So anything more than that's going to slow down time for us. And so whenever we have more frames than the 24 frames per second, it's going to seem as though time is slowing down. And again, anytime you see this within film, right, this deviates from our natural way of seeing the world, right? So this is a purposeful act by the director in order to convey a very specific meaning. It's a way to say this is important, right? Because it's different. It's different. We don't see the world in slow motion. Okay, for some reason I can watch these all day, but I won't. I want to show you the application in film. Here's Kung Fu Panda.
Stairs. Who are you, buddy? I am the Dragon Warrior. You? Him? He's a panda. You're a panda. What are you gonna do, big guy? Sit on me? Don't tempt me. Now, I'm gonna use this. You want it? Come get it. Oh! Finally.
Slow motion, right? Slow motion. Emphasize, right? Emphasize the terror. Emphasize the monstrousness of. Can't remember the guy's name. Coming after the Kung Fu Panda. Again, a moment of emphasis. It's just a way of telling the audience, hey, this part's, important, or this part's funny, whatever the case may be. Anyway, it goes on from there, but slow motion, right? In a way of kind of emphasizing a particular moment. Well, if more frames than the standard 24 frames per second slows down motion, what would fewer frames than 24 frames per second do? It's going to be fast motion, right? So fast motion is anytime there are fewer frames than the 24 frames per second. And what that will do is that skipping of the frames is going to make it seem as though action is happening faster than it actually is. Here's another scene from Elf.
making as many snowballs as you can.
Fast motion. Here we go. Slow motion. You got both of them in this one. But again, it's just a moment of emphasis within the film. All right. A freeze frame is when the image freezes on the screen. Again, this is going to deviate from the natural way that we see the world. And so again, it's going to be a moment of emphasis. This comes from 400 Blows. Antoine has a troubled home life. Doesn't really get along with his mother or his father. They put him in a boarding school for delinquent children. He runs away from that. He's been running his entire life. He's ran away from home. And now he's going to keep running until he gets to the ocean. And he's going to turn and he's going to stop. And he's going to realize that he physically can't run anymore, right? Because he's actually blocked by the ocean. But that's going to give him a moment of insight and revelation that he needs to actually turn and face his problems. He can't run from his problems as well. And so here is a long shot. This is a tracking shot. Notice the tracking is kind of following along the action as though we're running along with him. Long shot showing the motion of his legs. Gets to the ocean. Going to turn, realize he's kind of trapped. He's got to face his problems, freeze frame, and zoom in to his face. That moment of realization, and then we, the audience, are then left with, what's he going to do next? And we have to fill in that for ourselves. All right, a process shot. I think helicopter shot's the next one. Helicopter shot is a shot that is filmed from a helicopter. I don't know if I have an example of that one. I used to, but I think I may have taken it out. A process shot is combining two different pieces of film. Normally this is done with a green screen. As we see here, this one takes place in North by Northwest again.
Absolutely, no question.
Cary Grant's mistaken for a criminal. The process shot here is that this is actually filmed inside a studio, but they have another piece of film in front of this police officer to make it look as though he's driving down the street, and then another piece of film behind them to make it seem as though they're in this crowded traffic, when actually they're just in the studio. Process shot, combining two different pieces of film. One piece of film with them in the car, and then the other piece of film is the busy streets behind them. All right, a voiceover. A voiceover is when a character or narrator explains things directly to the audience. It doesn't happen too much in film anymore. It's really a technique within film noir films of the 40s. And this particular one, this is one of the more famous films, Hollywood films. It's one of the first films that takes a dark look at Hollywood and some of the negative aspects of Hollywood. And like I mentioned, they're used to just put all of the credits at the beginning of the film. So I'm going to kind of skip through this. As the police come to this very famous kind of mansion in Hollywood. But then you have the narrator explaining things directly to us.
One of those great big houses in the 10,000 block. You'll read about it in the late editions, I'm sure. You'll get it over your radio and see it on television. Because an old-time star is involved. One of the biggest. But before you hear it all distorted and blown out of proportion, before those Hollywood columnists get their hands on it, maybe you'd like to hear the facts, the whole truth. If so, you've come to the right party. You see, the body of a young man was found floating in the pool of her mansion, with 2 shots in his back and 1 in his stomach. Nobody important, really. Just a movie writer with a couple of B pictures.
Okay, true to film noir fashion, they're going to start the movie at the end, and then that creates this mystery, and then now the entire film is going to try to explain how that guy got in the pool, right? And so, but the voiceover is just a way of telling us setting the scene, setting the stage of what to expect within the film. That leads us into to sound, right? Foregrounding of sound means giving privilege to the most important noises or voices. And so if there's a lot of scenes now that are in busy or loud nightclubs, and the only thing that you're really going to hear is the dialogue between the main characters, right? You're going to hear some background noise of the music and the dancing and all the other chatter, but that's going to be secondary to the dialogue of the main characters. That's called foregrounding of sound. I want to show you an example of this coming from Star Trek. We have the sound of I think it's a Corvette he's driving, if I remember correctly. Yep. And this is Captain Kirk when he was a little boy stealing a car. Now, rather than the loud engine, now you hear the focus is on the phone call that he gets. And so I think I'm going to mute a little bit. I think he has some colorful language. But then he's going to turn on, I think, the Beastie Boys. And then that's what we're going to hear. So it's just giving preference to the most important noises or sounds. In order to kind of tell the story. And then you're going to hear the noise of the sirens coming up. Over the engine, over the wind, over the loud music, right? Then you're going to hear that rather than the siren, now you're going to hear the police officer telling them to pull over, right? So again, just giving preference to what we're supposed to be hearing. I don't know how you're having squealing tires on dirt. I don't know if that's possible. But anyway, notice you're still hearing the music. And where is the music? It was coming from the car. Where's the car? So again, it's a way to just direct the attention, part of the narrative.
Is there a problem, officer?
Citizen, what is your name?
My name is James Tiberius Kirk.
Okay, so let's take a look at omniscience of music. Omniscience means all-knowing. So music plays a key role in setting the mood of a scene. In this manner, music becomes part of the narrative. It tells us when to be frightened or when to be happy. It provides clarity and unity within the narrative. Generally, the music will rarely mislead the viewer, right? So as someone's walking up the stairs, like in a scary movie, and you hear the creepy music, and you're like, why are they moving up? Why do they keep going closer to the stairs? Don't they know, right? In the attic, there's something scary. Well, they're not hearing the music, right? And so music is telling the viewer how to think and how to feel, and it generally will rarely ever mislead us. And so if you listen to the music, it will guide you through the particular narrative. So let's take a look at, here you're going to see the foregrounding of sound as well, but also the omniscience of music or sound.
House I wish you could take care of. One, I've got some cats parking in front of the house. I can't get down to the office.
So while that guy's right in our face, right, we hear the screaming in the background, right? So giving preference to certain noises. This guy, I can't remember his name. This is the sheriff. He's responsible for keeping his people safe. He's heard that there was a shark out there that's attacking people, but the mayor refuses to close down the beach, even though there's this deadly presence out there, because I think that it's either Labor Day or Independence Day. Something, it was a holiday, and they didn't want to close the beach.
It's cold. We know all about you, Chief. You don't go in the water at all, do you?
It's some bad hat, Harry.
Chief Brody, you are uptight. Come on. That's it.
Omniscience of music, right? So they don't hear that sound underneath the water of the shark coming in to gobble them up, right? But it's a way of telling the story, right? Getting the audience to feel and think something very specific, right? So kind of leave off there. Diegetic sound. Diegetic sound is sound within the film narrative that the character hears, right? So the sound of Jaws going in there, the characters don't hear that. So that would be non-diegetic sound. And so diegetic sound is a sound that the character hears. I wanted to show you a couple examples. Diegetic sound from Footloose. Sound, music that they actually hear. All right. Another example of diegetic sound is getting back to Rear Window, right? So we've talked a little bit about how Scotty has suspected his neighbor Thorwald has killed his wife. What Hitchcock decides to do, rather than adding the scary music like we see with Jaws, he makes it all diegetic sound, so it's just all silent. And so he's building that tension. All we hear is the traffic in the background. We hear footsteps. And that silence makes us feel how alone he is. And that builds that tension. So it's another artistic choice, specifically done in order to create a specific effect. A high angle shot. Demonstrate his weakness as he had kind of is helpless in his wheelchair with a broken leg. But all of that sound, right, the kind of street noise that we hear, it gives us a sense that it's so close to him, right? Help is so close, and yet it's inaccessible. You notice that that sound's getting closer and closer, just like we are in the room. We're hearing this. And all he has as a photographer is his camera and his flash, right? And we're going to kind of leave off here. I don't want to spoil it for you. I highly recommend you should watch it. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's really good, and how Hitchcock kind of builds the suspense throughout using these techniques in unique ways that makes it really fresh and interesting. Non-diegetic sound is sound that the characters don't actually hear. So here is Gravity. The diegetic sound of them talking, right? But then the non-diegetic sound is going to be the sound that's played when you see the Earth.
Can't beat the view. So what do you like about being up here?
The silence. I could get used to it.
As though Earth has a soundtrack. But the choice here, the artistic choice to add sound to the Earth, is to convey that sense of awe, right? I mean, space is silent. There's no sound in space because there's no atmosphere in space. And so it doesn't actually have sound. But a soundless movie. The director thought that a movie without sound would just not be the same. So he chose to add sound in order to create this intensity. And you're going to see this again as the satellites start going down. Oops, sorry, hang on. As the satellites go down, right, you're going to have that intensity as though the satellites have their own presence, and they're going to kind of whip by these individuals, creating that intensity.
Begin re-entry procedure. ISS initiate emergency.
Notice the non-diegetic sound underneath, right? That sound, that kind of tone, that music underneath of all the kind of dialogue, the chatter. It's going to be that that kind of that scary kind of presence that the satellite brings. And it's going to get louder and louder as it gets closer and closer.
Satellites and creating new debris. Traveling faster than a high-speed bullet up towards your altitude. How copy? Copy all. Put a bow on it, Dr. Stone.
I can't. The board is still initializing.
I'm not going to ask you again.
1 second.
Not 1 second, now. Shut it down. That's an order.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm done. Kowalski, initiate emergency disconnect from the Hubble.
All right, Sharif, let's do this. Roger that. Houston, update? Well, we have a full-on chain reaction. It's been confirmed that it's the unintentional side effect of the Russians striking one of their own satellites.
They shut down their own satellite.
Right at disposal. Most likely a spy sat gone bad. Now shrapnel. Explorer ready to disengage HST.
Lots release in 3, 2, 1.
Explorer, new data coming through. What's the blowback, Houston? It's not good. Most of our systems are gone. Debris chain reaction is out of control and rapidly expanding. Multiple satellites are down and they keep on falling. Define multiple satellites? Most of them are gone. Telecommunication systems are dead. Expect a communications blackout at any moment.
Kowalski, visual of debris at 9 o'clock.
Half of North America just lost their Facebook. Explorer, repeat. Expect a communications blackout at any moment.
Copy that, Houston.
Explorer, this is Kowalski confirming visual contact with debris. Debris is from a BSE sat. Repeat. I have...
Dr. Stone requesting faster transport.
We have to go. We have to go, go, go. Reports meteorological conditions. Go, go.
Houston, Explorer, copy.
Explorer, Dr. Stone requesting faster transport to main area. Explorer, do you copy?
Explorer, permission to retrieve Dr. Stone.
Your go, Kowalski. Houston, this is Explorer, copy. We've lost Houston. Oh, we've lost Houston.
Crap. We need to get the hell out of here. No, don't wait for us. And now.
Houston, this is Explorer, copy. Houston, this is Explorer, copy. Kowalski, repeat.
Explorer's been hit. Explorer, Explorer. Astronaut is off structure. Dr. Stone is off structure. Dr. Stone's detached. You must detach. Don't detach that arm to carry you too far. Listen to my voice. You need to focus. I'm losing visual of you. In a few seconds I will be able to track you. You need to detach. I can't see you anymore. Do it now. Houston, I've lost visual of Dr. Stone. Houston, I've lost visual of Dr. Stone.
So what we see with them is, right, as the satellite gets closer and closer to them and it has that swirling motion, this isn't actually sound that they're hearing, it's sound that we, the audience, hear, right? So this is non-diegetic sound. Gravity was, at the time, it was hardly regarded for its sound and within film. It won the Academy Award for Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, Best Editing in general. It won the 2014 Oscar for Best Cinematography and Best Director. And they're thinking about how do we take these elements of film to be able to tell a story, right? And so mainly what we've been taking a look at is how directors use these specific elements in order to convey meaning and how they do it in a way that makes it impactful for the viewer. And I think that understanding these techniques can give us a deeper appreciation and more rewarding experience as we watch film throughout our lives.